Andrew Wilson, you posted, I've always said I don't support the war, but still support Trump. Now, of course, Trump refuses to call it a war because if it was a war, he'd have to get congressional approval for it. And American presidents don't tend to do that. So you haven't officially had a war since World War II, I think. But notwithstanding that, how big a threat to Trump's overall legacy could this Iran war end up being?
Oh, it could ruin him. I mean, what Smith says is essentially correct. The idea that now he's being compared with Jimmy Carter when he had been ripping Carter to pieces, especially in his first term, I think bodes very, very poorly for him. I do agree that it has divided his base substantially, and it's weakened him as a president, this particular conflict. I don't think that it was ultimately a good idea, and he should move back to domestic issues if he doesn't want this to completely corrupt his entire political ideology and the America First messaging.
I'm so happy to hear Andrew saying this. So ecstatic. Oh my God, I've been waiting for him to come to this conclusion. Oh, I'm so happy.
You know, Jojo, welcome back to Uncensored. We'll come to your thoughts on me a little later.
But to our country, his legacy, that is also economic, that this protracted war, and what we offer the American people, because that's what's missing.
Okay.
That's what I've been trying to tell Republicans, my Republican friends who are all worried that the Democrats are going to take over control. Are you worried about John Alsop? Come on, man. We've got to get our party under control and not fucking worry about the Democrats. Get the Zionism out of our party, and we don't have shit to worry about. They have nobody. She just told you, John Alsop. Never even heard of him.
I mean, Dave Smith, I felt from day one of this war, it was a massive miscalculation. And that, and at best, a terrible misjudgment based on, I think, the persuasive powers of Benjamin Netanyahu and the head of Moscow.
What about AOC? She's a fucking retard. What are you talking about? They've got to go do debates. Like, you don't think the public will see that she's a retard? She was mystified by her garbage disposal. She's not going to win a debate. Don't worry about AOC.
Sad to buy into a sequence of events which just hasn't materialized. And that if Trump had his time again, as we can see from the current distancing with Netanyahu, that he probably wouldn't have gone into it. It's interesting. I mean, Jojo said about the war, they've lost everything militarily and they were able to kill our heroes because this fucking sociopath, Trump, doesn't have a goddamn care in the world about how many of our troops die in his illegal for personal profit bullshit war. Now, I would say that is a mischaracterization. Correct me if you think I'm wrong. Whenever I've talked to Trump, publicly or privately, he's always wanted to avoid death in combat. And he has been very perturbed by the enormous number of deaths, for example, in the Ukraine war, right? And he talks about it a lot privately, right? How many young men are getting killed on a daily basis on the front line there. I don't think he doesn't care about the lives of American forces. I think he genuinely has always viewed Iran as a massive threat. And he got traduced by Netanyahu into believing this was the right moment and the sequence of events the Israelis put forward would happen. In other words, it was a terrible mistake. He shouldn't have done it. An appalling error of judgment to trust what he was being told and sold. But ultimately...
Or blackmailed. Let's not pretend like that's not an option with these people. Come on.
I don't think it was the actions of someone who doesn't care about the lives of American servicemen. I think where he's got himself is that, unfortunately, he doesn't know how to get out of this now. And so more and more servicemen are getting pulled in and getting killed. And I don't know if he knows an exit route for this.
Yeah. Well, I don't know if you're asking to speculate what's in his heart or how much he cares about every one of these 19-year-olds who he's gotten killed. I don't know. It is true that he certainly tried to resist conflicts, including this conflict in his first term. And the exact same factions were trying to pull him into this war and trying to pressure him into it in his first term. And he resisted. If you remember after the Iranians shot down the drone, after the Soleimani strike, there were lots lots of pressures to get into it, and he resisted those. And he resisted even in the 12-day war, took the first off-ramp that he got. Now, I understand what you're saying, Pierce, here, and me and you read the same news, but there is like this big question mark in the narrative here, which is that how exactly was Donald Trump persuaded when obviously he should have known, as everyone in this town would know, that Netanyahu is just trying to get you into this thing because what he wants is a regime change or a regime collapse, and that he's going to say whatever he can to try to lure you into this thing. And then, of course, Pierce, if we're to trust the New York Times reporting, that nobody in Trump's own government went along with this and backed it up. And nobody in his intelligence, of course, nobody was saying it's a slam dunk that you can get a regime change through the air with no ground forces. I'm not sure that's ever been done in military history. And so, yeah, it's kind of a crazy idea that he got tricked into this by the Israelis. I suppose that's possible after Venezuela. The bottom line here, Pierce, is this. He launched the war. Those people are dead as a result of it. This is what leadership comes down to, right? Okay, now here's the interesting thing about this latest round. We're at the darkest point in this war so far, Pierce. He's back to threatening, and now he's even taken moves toward bridge and power plant day. He's threatening to do this the next time. The Iranians are not backing down. But Pierce, what's really different about this go-around of the war? Last week, in his walk down, he walked away from all of the original war aims, Pierce. Every last reason that we supposedly were fighting this war. He backed off of the first point in the memorandum of understanding is that there'll be a ceasefire in Hezbollah. So we're not saying they can't fund their terrorist proxies. He walked away from ballistic missiles. He walked away from the nuclear dust. He walked away from zero enrichment. He walked away from the whole thing. We're just fighting over the Strait and Lebanon now, two issues that didn't exist before the war. I mean, I'm sorry, 5 months into it, if that's not a disaster, I don't know what is.
Yeah, I mean, Andrew, it is a disaster, isn't it? I mean, I don't.
Hey, but you forgot we blew up more shit, right? That's what the neocons are going to come say. Hey, look, we demolished their fucking navy. Those two boats. We fucking blew them up. So we win. We blew up more shit. You notice they don't have any neocons on this one. I don't know what Jojo is, but usually they'll have, Will Chamberlain or what's the other little clown, the little goofy howdy doody looking motherfucker. Usually they're on there to tell you, we blew up a lot more shit. So we win. We win.
Don't see how Trump can extricate any kind of legitimate victory here, do you?
No. I don't. This has not been a good foreign policy decision for the Trump administration. I not only concede that that's true, but never thought it was a great idea. I think that I would disagree with Dave in, I guess, a nuanced way, that I think that Trump became very overly reliant on his very decisive military victories that he did have, that were always very limited, very quick, mission accomplished, he was out, and then he could brag. This is altogether a different situation. So no, I don't think that this is good for the administration. I wish that they would focus back on domestic policies, as Democrats have nothing at all to offer. Nobody's excited about any Democrat candidates. That's where the war should be being fought, is domestically.
Music to my ears. I've been waiting for Andrew to say those words. I missed him. Oh, it's so great. This is so great. Oh, I'm so excited. The fact is, we elected another doddering old fool, and this one's just a gullible old fool. At least, the handlers that Biden had enough control on him to keep the Israel lobby out of his ear so much. But we keep electing these old motherfuckers. I'll never vote for anyone in their 70s again. Never. Not for anything.
Okay, Jojo, I mean, look, if you compare Trump's war record over 2 terms with Obama, you would compare it quite favorably. I mean,
yes, man, it's just there's consensus in this country. There's agreement among super majorities of the American people that we don't want any more of these stupid wars. That's it. And I could make an argument for you, by the way, Pierce, if you got enough time. Like World War I, Americans voted for Woodrow Wilson, who ran on the promise to keep us out of World War I. We voted for FDR, who promised to keep us out of World War II. We voted for Johnson and Nixon, who promised to keep us out of and then end the war in Vietnam. We voted for Obama, who promised to keep keep us out of the wars. We voted for Trump. You know, the American people, every time they get a referendum on this, say, we don't want to be an empire. We don't want to fight senseless wars. We've never in any, it's not what our Constitution says our form of government is supposed to be. There's never been a referendum. It's totally illegal and against the wishes of the American people. And, you know, I don't care who was nicer on the phone or what alleged story you have or who you think speaks with more empathy. George W. Bush and Barack Obama are responsible for the deaths of millions of innocent civilians. And Barack Obama, after running as the anti-war candidate, launching wars in Syria and Libya and Yemen and Somalia, just killed hundreds of thousands of innocent people. So I don't want to hear, but the whole point is that Donald Trump ran against that.
Yeah,
Donald Trump said we're not being like that anymore. He pointed to the fact that we wasted trillions of dollars and pointed to the fact that this specific war would be a disaster. We've had Tulsi Gabbard as the DNI for almost the entire thing. She sold "No War in Iran" t-shirts. JD Vance warned against this war. Like, this was such a huge part of the coalition. It was such a big part of the energy and the momentum that Donald Trump seized. This was the deep state. This was the Bidens and the Clintons and the Bushes. They're the ones who wanted forever wars in the Middle East, not the America First movement. And by giving that up, yeah, we've lost a lot of that energy. And now these dirty commies who were against the war have the wind at their back.
Yeah, that's all completely true. Let's just segue to another big story this week of the arrest of Andrew and Tristan Tate in the United States. Now, these two, you know, Andrew in particular, have become a kind of...
I'm really curious, who did Pierce think was going to be standing up for Trump on this one? I'm so glad Andrew stopped all that. Oh, it's so heavenly for me. But there's nobody here. He forgot to invite the Zionists.
Talisman to millions of young men around the world, which many people think is a pretty unhealthy state of affairs. You've all been on the record about the Tates previously, and I completely accept that news events have moved on, but it has split the right in America. And I want to play a clip from Ben Shapiro talking about this.
Folks, if Republicans would like third worldists to win, you know, these commie, Castro-standing revolutionaries who desire ardently to subdue and overthrow America, if Republicans want those people to win, then you probably should keep allowing the retard right to take over the party. Now, call me crazy. I think that when law enforcement prosecutes the guys pushing pimping hose degrees to young men via TikTok and sexually abusing underage girls, I think when those people get arrested, that's probably a good thing.
And I believe, and I think they believed, that they had some level of diplomatic protection from the United States, particularly from the Trump administration. Tate brothers have been good allies. They've been a pretty good sport to the Trump administration. And from what we've heard today, it sounds like Trump is not going to lift a finger to help them. And so we'll see what happens in this hearing, but it's not looking good. Go figure. Golden age, we have all these indictments that we were promised, and of all people, it is the Tate brothers.
I love that Ben Shapiro tries to push this as if the Muslims are the ones doing all the pornography and all the dirty shit in America. I would invite you to go look up who owns and runs and distributes most of the pornography in America and find out what religion they are. And please tell me that they're Muslims. I promise you they're not. I promise you they're not.
So, Andrew, let me start with you here. In March 2025, you said Christians should stop bitching about Tate. As long as Christians allow feminism and sewing circle lunatics to punish all forms of masculine expression in Christianity, men like Tate will reign. As long as the message is feminine only, Tate will beat you every time. What do you feel about him now?
I mean, it's still true. There's nothing that I said there that was false. As long as it's the case that masculinity is punished, you're going to see men who say that it's okay to have traditional masculine capabilities. You're going to see those people glorified no matter what. So in this case, you could say, hey, these guys are pimps. You can attack them personally. You can say that you don't like how they behave. But what's never really attacked is the messaging. And if the messaging was attacked, I think that leftists and feminists would have a much better time. But nobody really attacks the messaging. They just attack the people. And it's like throwing the Tates in jail isn't going to change the fact that having a pro-masculine message is a good idea. And it's something that the right wing needed desperately. And it's something that Christian ethicists need to focus on as well.
But
It's
what about
okay to be a
where the
man. It's okay
look,
to be masculine.
I agree about the attacks on masculinity, and I think that's part of the reason for the rise of people like the Tates. However, they were brazenly misogynist in open sight, right? They didn't hide it. They spoke in a revolting way about women. They wanted women to stay at home, have no vote, have no job, blah, 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 blah. This was all being done in plain view. They were quite proud of it. And I was surprised how many on the conservative.
You're not allowed to think that? Like, yeah, that would be a wonderful world. Like, if women would stay home and cook and clean and keep their mouth shut, that would be a wonderful world. You're not allowed to think that? Come on. Everyone thinks that a little bit.
Right, the Christian conservative right in particular, were prepared to kind of tolerate that.
There's overlap between ideology. So Christian right wingers who are part of traditional churches, those are patriarchal churches. So you have overlap in some cases with the ideology. So of course, some of them are like, hey, look, I don't agree with the pimping. I don't agree with the various things that these people do. But some of the messaging I do agree with. And the fact that men are latching on to that messaging opens the door for Christian ethicists to come in and say, hey, look, masculinity is okay. The pimping part's not okay. The prostituting women out's not okay. But the masculinity aspect of it and the patriarchal aspect of it under the true church is perfectly acceptable. That's why so many Roman Catholics, Orthodox, and high church Protestants were able to kind of latch onto that message inside the manosphere and start turning the tide towards the Christian ethics and away from the OnlyFans and pimping and prostitution.
I'm not even understanding. How are they allowing the prostitution but outlawing the pimping? Like, I thought they kind of go hand in hand. Like, if you're going to allow one, why can't... I mean, I'm not talking about slapping the women around. I don't think that's what that even was. I thought it was like a digital thing, like where you're just in charge of them digitally. So why can't you have a pimp like that? That type of pimp should be fine. Like, you're allowing the prostitution. If that's okay, how are they going to, like, I don't even know. I think they kind of go hand in hand.
Institution, et cetera.
Jojo, you said if you're getting your facts from Andrew Tate, congratulations, you're an idiot and an asshole, and also very likely an incel, and you need to get back to your basement dwelling, raid spanking, and video gaming because the grown-ups are busy.
And you're confused, to say the very least, and something else is missing in your life that you're trying to fill with this manufactured idea of what it is to be a man.
Yes.
Okay. This is why women shouldn't vote. Right here. Right here's why. Because it's all feelings over facts and a word salad that Kamala would eat. Jesus, she said nothing. She just basically kind of described the male hierarchy and how men kind of, just the toughest guys kind of just rule in a male hierarchy. I think that's what she's trying to describe, but she's not really understanding it. And that's why women should be in the kitchen, just making a salad, making something for us to eat. That's where they are truly blessed, not in talking about these kind of things, because no one needs to hear that shit.
So this is, if you want talking about conflation, right? Conflating messaging. This is a woman who said that Charlie Kirk was the king of the incels, right?
Yeah,
so
see, this
talk
is what's
about,
so right.
Talk
Dude,
about
such a good
don't know
point.
what words. Talk about what don't know what words mean, right? Guy married to former model, right, who has children, is king of the incels. It's like, give me a break. That's one. She also said that he was
That's
the
exactly
head.
what happened.
Hang
Charlie
on.
Kirk went onto college
You see, she doesn't even know what an incel is, but she calls people that. She just uses these little buzzwords to insult people. She doesn't even know the definition of them. How can you be married to a woman and be an incel? A pretty woman, like kind of a demon, like weird now, but she was a pretty woman. How can you be an incel and be married to someone like that? She doesn't even understand these words she uses to insult people with.
I didn't interrupt you. I didn't interrupt you
Okay,
once.
you're right. I'll let you finish and then I'll respond.
So he also said that he's the king of Hitler Youth, right? TV USA. They don't know what words mean. And so here she's going to pretend that
We kind of almost be the other side of that, right? Like the Zionist side.
suddenly she knows what the word masculinity means. Masculinity is set and enriched through virtue ethics and the idea of the virtues around the male and the idea of virtues around the feminine. That's how we even know what femininity is, what masculinity is. There's some parts of Tate's message that I agree with you are really, really poor when it comes to that. But there's other parts of his message that weren't very poor when it comes to that. So don't try to tell us what masculinity and femininity is. You don't even know what words mean. If you're going to call a guy like Charlie Kirk the king of the incels, you don't even know what words mean.
Okay.
Well, can I
Jojo?
point out
Was married does not mean
sorry,
that
sorry.
Charlie
Dave, I'll
Kirk. I
come
wanna
to you in one
respond.
sec.
Because Charlie Kirk was married to Erica Kirk, who, by the way, may or may not have been introduced to him by Donald Trump. But because she worked for Donald Trump before
So?
she met.
She's still a woman, though, right? Right? There's still a vagina down there, and they had kids come out of it. So he's not an incel.
Charlie
So
Kirk.
what?
So what?
Yes.
So
well,
what?
Well, there's lots of speculation as to how that all came to pass. But to say that Charlie Kirk was the king of the incels is not a referendum on Charlie Kirk's choices in his life. Charlie Kirk went to college campuses with Turning Point and courted young men who were incels. They were voluntarily celibate. They
What?
believe.
What are you
Excuse me.
talking about? Just making stuff
That's
up.
what
To teach them about celibacy until you're married? Oh, yeah, that's a good way to cure incels.
No, Charlie
You're
Kirk
just
went to
making
college
stuff up.
campuses and he found a bunch of young guys who didn't know where they belonged, right? They didn't have a group. They
That
didn't
doesn't
have,
make
they
them
couldn't get
incels,
laid.
though,
So they
Joe.
see
That doesn't
Charlie
make them
Kirk comes in there and
incels.
he fills this void. And yeah, that was part of the original draw of Charlie Kirk.
How does that make
100%.
them incels, Joe? How would that make
Because-
them incels? He has a pro-marriage,
Because they wanted
pro-family
to blame
message. Get
somebody
married.
else. They wanted to blame
Mhm.
somebody else for the fact that they didn't have enough game to get a girl. So it was somebody
You're
else's
just making
fault
it
that they
up.
could
That's
find
that's
comfort,
not
but
TPUSA's
You're just-
message.
yeah,
or Charlie
this
Kirk's
is
message.
so-
What
I
are you
don't know.
talking
It's
about?
I'm
always-
saying
By
that
the
was
way, hang on.
exclusively his
let me
message. I'm
just tie
saying that
this
was
off.
part of the appeal.
Well, let me
that
bring
was
in.
part
Let me
of
bring
the-
very
in.
quickly.
Let me bring in
no,
Dave.
you have no Charlie
hang on.
Kirk fan ever. It's always like the liberals have to say this was his appeal, but you're not a fan of his, and no fan of his has ever once said that was the appeal. But anyway, can I
Of
just
course
say,
not.
I think she thinks he's like a pickup artist or something, like one of those type of content creators. She's never even seen Charlie Kirk and she's insulting him with words she don't even understand the meaning of.
You
On
think
the
a guy's
message of
going
the
to be
tape-
like,
well,
oh
here's-
yeah,
one
I like
second.
Hang on,
Charlie
let
Kirk.
Dave
Let me
speak,
explain
please.
why I couldn't get laid.
Let Dave speak.
No, of course not. But also, I think you just saying it is pretty ridiculous too, and I don't think anyone actually feels that way. Anyway, I think with
Okay.
Andrew Tate, the thing that's kind of interesting here, and I think particularly from the perspective of say like me and Andrew, is that people on the left, it's like they call everything Hitler. And then when something that looks like Hitler shows up, they go, oh my God, where did it come from? And it's like, dude, it's a direct reaction to you. It is so obviously a direct reaction to you. Is it a coincidence? Is it a coincidence that the Tates happened to blow up after 15 years of the left lecturing the entire society about toxic masculinity and enforcing safe spaces and all of this just nonsense, the excesses of the Me Too movement? It is so
We're not sure what
obviously
men
a
and women
counter-
are, Dave.
Yes. We don't know the difference between boys and girls. This is an
We can't tell.
overcorrection to you.
Feminism in general, just in general feminism. It's a reaction to that.
And then you come around and say these things to two guys like me and Andrew, who are husbands and fathers, who are promoting more traditional family. By the way, Pierce, when you said it's not the message of the Tates that women should be at home and not vote and be in the kitchen, you're getting closer to me and Andrew territory with that. Their message was like, you should put women out in front of like a webcam and sexually exploit them and this stuff that I think is just
Well, I think he
horrible.
said.
This
I think.
idea-
I think.
this
I
idea
think.
that
And they
I
didn't
think.
have a
talk
pro-marriage.